Sauna Sisters podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health or professional advice. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to the Sauna Sisters podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Jen.
And we're two women brought together through a love of open water swimming, sauna and honest conversations about health and well-being while navigating menopause ourselves. We're at the beautiful Quay Sauna and Lake in Mitchett, which you can see behind us. And today we're joined by our wellness expert, Emily McCoy. And together we'll be sharing experiences and conversations around women's health, well-being, and the different ways we support ourselves and each other through midlife. So whether you're listening after a swim or a walk, or just having a quiet moment to yourself, we're really glad you're joining us for another Sauna Sisters conversation.
Yeah, so welcome to Emily.
Oh, thank you.
So I've known Emily for probably about a year and a half, would you say? Yeah, and we met by both being practitioners and facilitators, because you hold a community for other practitioners, don't you,
That's
at
right.
the Balance and Breathe space.
Yeah.
But primarily you are a
Counsellor.
counsellor and author,
Yes.
which is very exciting. And you very much focus your work around building up people's self-worth and finding out where the issues have come from and how to overcome those.
That's right.
Yeah, and of course we've spoken already amongst ourselves and with previous guests that sometimes during menopause, self-worth can take a real hit because you totally lose sort of like who you are.
Yeah.
So do you want to just talk a little bit more about sort of those interactions that you've had with people?
Yeah, sure. I mean, thank you, first of all.
Yeah, no.
It's really cool being here. So I think one of the main things I really notice for people's mental health through their entire life course is that there are real moments in time where stressors, physical, hormonal, life, just load on. And it's in those moments that people's sense of self can really deteriorate. And are you allowed to swear on this podcast or not?
No, we're not.
We haven't yet.
Okay, well, I won't. But there's a phrase that I've come to in my work, which is around kind of when the bad stuff kind of comes along.
Yeah.
And it kind of does to people's brains what you know, mobile phones, and they've got factory settings, and you press the button, the factory settings button, and all of the work and all the updates disappear. In our brains, that happens when we're under a lot of stress and when there's a lot of change, and I call it the factory resets, because what happens is that even if you've been to therapy, even if you've worked on yourself, even if you've grown your understanding of yourself, with enough stress and strain and change and unsettling experience in your life, a lot of that can be wiped out, and you go back to this very critical way of thinking about yourself. You might find yourself going back to historic kind of nasty comments that you thought you'd left behind. And what I see a lot of women in midlife experiencing is a volume of change, a volume of stretch and strain, a volume of responsibility, which just means that they are put back to some kind of reset where they feel really bad about themselves. They think they're failing, they're exhausted, and maybe up to that point their answer has been be competent, crack on, find the answer, find the solution. But at this point in their lives, taking on another to-do can't be the answer, because it's doing so much that has brought them to that low point. So I think
also hiding those feelings as well.
Hiding them
all the time.
Because I think that critical voice tells you it's a failure to be feeling that. That critical voice is meaning that you look at everyone else and say, but they're coping. It's my worst word, coping. I hate that word. I should be coping better because everybody else is. And so that voice acts to keep people isolated, which is why I think conversations like this are really important, because if we don't express those difficulties, then we're really part of creating a silencing environment around something which is really difficult and painful and hard and frightening, I think, for people. It's a frightening time for a lot of women.
And I think normalising it, actually, normalising,
yes.
and then everyone thinks, oh, well, that's just what we do, you know, and then we just keep going and we keep going until we get to a point where actually we can't go any further.
No.
And that's when we have these sort of, you know, breakdowns and
crisis. I think it feels like crisis, doesn't it, for a lot of women?
hugely. So, where are you at on your journey through the midlife menopause mayhem?
Well, I'm 46. I keep thinking I'm 47, but I'm reliably informed by my partner I'm actually 46.
Okay, I take that then.
Because I keep saying I am, and then being like, hang on a minute. And I guess I'm in perimenopause.
Okay.
I'm taking HRT, and it's working okay. But the biggest part of it for me is insomnia. My sleep is in tatters, and it's really funny that I'm here because yesterday I had to take the entire day off work. I had to cancel 5 client sessions, therapy sessions.
Oh my goodness.
I had an hour and a half of clinical supervision, which is once a month for me, very important part of my practice. I had to cancel that because I'd gone to sleep finally at 6 a.m. on Monday morning.
Oh, Emily.
And that was like following on from 10 days of getting maybe 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep, a good night, 5 hours. But on Sunday night, none at all. I could not go to sleep. And I know that that is progesterone related for me. I've just had some changes to my HRT. And I think to open up and with full honesty, just like you were saying there, it is hormones and it's being squeezed. You know, my mum is getting old. I've had some worries about her over the last week. My children, 9 and 14, have got some stuff going on, which was very on my mind on Sunday. And I just couldn't turn it off. I could not get to sleep, and the knock-on effect for that, for my work, but for my mood and mental health is massive. And so, you know, as a counsellor, I don't talk a lot about myself. Obviously, with my clients, it's not appropriate. But in this kind of forum, and when I've written my book, it's been very important to me to speak very honestly about my own kind of struggles or bad days or own mental health struggles, and because I think that's what people need. They need solidarity in the hard times.
I agree with that, because Sarah and I have spoken about the fact that, you know, Sarah's a nutritionist, so I think everyone has that idea that she's sitting at home eating lettuce all day and green smoothies, and
quinoa or nothing.
and then I'm there sitting on my meditation cushion all the time, being zen like Jen. But, you know, I think it's really important that people know we're humans too, and we are walking a path, and we're feeling it the same. Like you say, not appropriate in a setting where you're holding space for a client, but I think it's important for a client to know that, you know, at some other time that you are going through these struggles, so that you can you have that empathy and identification with
I think
it.
otherwise it's patronising.
Yeah.
You know, it's like advice from the mountaintop, and I know that's not advice that I would appreciate.
No.
I do weave it into my therapy sessions a little bit, and to be honest, every time I have, my client has just been so surprised. They have this imagining that I'm fine all the time, and that imagining doesn't make them feel good about themselves.
No.
It makes them feel that when they're struggling, they're failing. And I think a lot of my work is around saying we're not failing when we're struggling, we're human. And let's put that into the context of all of who you are, all of who I am, all of who you are, and stand together in that in a way which is, we don't have to feel ashamed for those bad days.
No, of course not.
So that's why I'm really glad to be here.
So I mean, obviously you've gone quite deep there. You said obviously the biggest thing that's affecting you is your sleep, and so yesterday you had to wipe your work schedule. I mean, that's quite a thing to have to do. I mean, you're self-employed the same as we are. So to put that into action, I know, takes a lot of you know,
well, when you're
fortitude.
crying more than your clients.
That's a good key indicator.
You know, like, I mean, I joke, but I think it's been a lesson I've learned increasingly over time to really listen to that, and there's a difference between on a bad day sometimes, you know, getting into your work and that bringing you value and distraction is extremely healthy, but on days like that where I literally had nothing to give, I feel like I don't want to be showing up as a hypocrite to my clients. If they came to me and said that they had had that night, I would be encouraging them to 100% adjust, take things off their to-do list, soften up their expectations, call in help, not listen to their critic. And that is the work I do for myself every day. So I think I am at the point now where I'm, you know, want to get my book out there, where I feel like I have to, you know, walk the talk and not just, you know, be like, it's fine, and then struggle through 5 sessions and collapse at the end.
Come then, tell us about your book.
So it's not published. I'm trying to find a literary agent at the moment, but it's called Claim You: How to Create a Life of Self-Worth, Well-Being and Personal Power, and How to Change the World as You Go.
Oh wow, not a lot then.
Not a lot, but I feel like if people are living from a place of self-worth, it really ripples out to their relationships, the way they parent, the way they lead, the way they manage people, the decisions they make, how much they need to consume stuff, emotional buying, emotional eating, depletion of our natural world. So it's not preachy, but I think it is just gently kind of saying, when you show up for yourself and you make sense of yourself, it really does ripple out. And here we are in a world where I think we're all kind of like, it's not really working the way we're doing it. I see people who work on their self-worth shift so much in terms of how they feel, yes, but how they treat other people and how they what they feel they really need. They consume less, they you know, they're clearer about what they want, and they're not escaping stuff anymore. So I think it can have big claims, because I think that's true.
And maybe not taking so much to heart that when people make comments, which sometimes are just flippant comments, but then you play them back in your mind, and what did they mean by that? Were they being horrible? You know, which is what I think most of us do. We play back scenarios, don't we? So actually having that confidence to go, actually, that's nothing to do with me. I just need to concentrate on, you know, what I'm doing and what I'm giving to people.
And permissioning yourself to reflect. You know, I think a lot of what goes wrong in lives or in the world is reaction. And I think if something's hurt you, like a comment, it's okay to take that time, isn't it, to figure out like, maybe that landed because of something someone said to me in the past. And so it's sort of it's not reacting. I think it's giving yourself that permission to feel it and then to move on. So I think there's a lot that shifts when someone really starts living their life from a place of understanding themselves. And the book is a little bit of a how-to, like being sort of like, well, how do you sit with yourself and how do you make sense of your emotions? So I think it's a lot of teaching the skills of what do feelings need and how do I understand myself? Like literally take me through that process, because I think I see a lot of adults who are relearning or are learning that for the first time, because maybe they weren't responded to around their emotions as they grew up. So.
Good. So you said you've got reasonably young children, 9 and 14.
9 and 14.
How does lack of sleep play out with them?
I think that they know it.
Yeah.
I think I'm quite honest. You know, I say I'm, you know, and they understand I'm quite a sensitive person. So I will take myself off to bed for an hour and, you know, do a meditation. I will say to them, we can't maybe do all the things we were planning to do today. I try to not be too irritable, but come on, let's be honest, I probably am more shouty as a result. But I say sorry and try and make it up to them. But
so you have an open dialogue with them about what's going on? I think
it's pretty open.
Nice.
Yeah. There's not much that I wouldn't try and find a way to explain to them in an age-appropriate way. Yeah. Nothing's really off topic. It's just how it's discussed, you know. Yeah. So they know. They know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So, in your practice, and your clients, are you finding many middle-aged women coming to you with this sort of like lack of self-worth due to the hormonal changes?
I think what I see is that lack of self-worth was pre-existing, but the volume of it is turned up way high as people go through menopause, because of the, you know, your emotional intensity increases, maybe there's anxiety, you're not sleeping as well. It's that shift in identity as well, isn't there? That the world is telling us that youth is everything. So you kind of, the narrative is you're already becoming redundant. And so I think that it's very hard to maintain good self-worth through the menopause. But if you've gone through life with that wound pre-existing, I think it's going to get more intense as you go through that experience. And so what I see are women who have held it together through all of their lives get to the menopause, and it's just not possible for them to keep going in the same way, and it freaks them out because they've probably been up to that point very good problem solvers, good friend, good daughter, good employee, good manager, and now they can't do it, and it's very scary. So I think for me it's kind of exploring this moment in time. There's going to be a change, and let's make that change feel not like you're reinventing yourself, but you're really coming home to yourself. You're really getting to know who you've always been. You're coming back into contact with what you've always loved, but maybe it's been hidden by all this noise and busyness and the being there for other people. It's this kind of horrible thing that happens in life where it's often the worst of times that crack you open, and then that's really where you get to do something different and something that's really beautiful for you. So I really see it, even if my client can't feel it. I see it that something good is going to come from this, and it's going to be for that woman. It's not going to be for anyone else. It's going to be for her. This is her life. And what does a really aligned life look like for her now? Change is here, and she can't avoid it. It's happening. It's happening. So I think it's a bit of a turning point to do something different in a really amazing way, I think.
So in our exchanges to today, you came up with a beautiful phrase, which was mothering yourself through menopause. Yeah, do you want to expand on that a little bit more?
Of course. Well, I think it's a time of life where you're doing a lot for other people, right? And you're probably at quite a senior place in your career, maybe you're holding responsibilities at home, and you're going through this huge change. And ideally what happens when we're going through something like that is we add in resource. You know, we take care of ourselves more, we call in help, we make adjustments, maybe we'll rest more. But I think for many women going through menopause, that's not where they go. Where they go to is, I don't have time for myself, or maybe I don't know how to go slowly because I've got used to living my life in a problem-solving, competent, forward motion kind of energy. And I think that this idea of mothering yourself through the menopause is this recognition that what you really need is to be held through that, either by people around you ideally and by yourself, so that you can come through it in a healthy way. It's not something that you can push at to get through. You know, you're exhausted, it's unsettling, you're anxious, you're not sleeping, you're changing, that's not an experience that you can fix. It's an experience you have to be held and supported through. And I think that what I've really learned for myself through this time is probably that I rest more than I've ever rested in my life. I have learned to nap or lie down or put on a very supportive meditation, and that's pretty much my number one go-to if things go wrong now, is not to research it on the internet or to try and find a doing solution. Is to understand that I need to add more to my internal battery to get through, and to soften and be gentle around that. And I just don't think that gentle message is really in our culture a whole lot.
No.
It's
and
hustle,
I think
isn't
if
it?
you're like you said about if you start searching on the internet and whatever, that can actually become more overwhelming and actually add to the burden as well. So
the stress, because there's no answer, is there?
No,
It's information
you
here,
just go round and round
there.
and round, don't you? Or down a rabbit hole, as some people will say, and at the end of it, you just think, I feel even worse than I did when I started.
Overwhelmed by information and choices, and it's not that any of the information's wrong either. I think it's that it's just, if you're not listening to what you need first, and how do you apply it to yourself? So I think this idea of mothering is probably that you're giving out so much, and maybe there's this shift in mentality around how can I put myself on the to-do list, and how can that be not a fixing point of view, but a caring perspective. You know, what do I want to eat today that's going to feel really supportive for me? How can I move today in a way that is going to feel really good for me? What needs to change about my plan so that I can feel held and resourced? And I think for a lot of women that's a big mind shift change.
That's huge, especially if you are a mother and you've spent years, if not decades, of your life on that that treadmill of everything, you know, not only the loving, caring and nurturing of the children, but everything that goes on with their schooling and everything that goes on with their friendship groups and getting them through things in life. Yeah, all of that. Children admin. You know, you're constantly there. So yeah, that is a big shift to suddenly sort of come away from that and go, okay, what about me? I need to go to the dentist.
I need to lie down. I need to stare at a wall. I think the other thing is like to look, and that's passed down, isn't it? If you look at your own, the way that you were mothered, or really, if you look at the way your mother took care of herself, that's probably the biggest compass telling you what you need to focus on as you go through your menopause years. So, how did your mother look after herself? Or how did she not look after herself? And that's going to be a really good guide to probably the lessons you're going to need to learn to come through the menopause. And life.
and life in general. So, talking of life advice, what's the most ridiculous piece of advice do you think you've come across?
Oh, God. I don't know. I was thinking about this. Probably the things that drive me mad are, you know, like the sort of Gwyneth Paltrow, you know, stuff that probably has something in it, but just is ridiculously priced and therefore mostly going to make you feel terrible about yourself. So anything that feels exclusive, like I'm just not on board with that. I think our bodies already know what they need, and it's probably quite simple. It's, you know, company, it's love, it's nature, it's rest, it's hydration, and you just rinse and repeat the basics, you'll probably be okay.
Which ties in beautifully actually with your book, isn't it? That idea that what we want and need is within us and we have access to without having to go out and consume it. So that whole happiness comes from within, not from without.
And the external validation model, which is like billions of pounds every year are spent on our dissatisfaction with ourselves, and it's an endless quest. I think, you know, really it is that making sense of who you are and then developing those skills to respond kindly and to yourself is the path.
This is all very inspiring.
Well, as I said, yesterday I was crying all day.
But
let's remember.
But it's, you know, I personally have identified with so many of the things that you said. Just sort of like at the beginning of this year, I kind of reached the point with I didn't know who I was, what I was meant to be doing, where my energy was supposed to be going. And I did kind of have to go, okay, this is a big change for me. You know, my children are older. I'm coming to sort of like, they're much more independent, you know. So I'm like, okay, what's going on for me? And I did have to kind of go, okay, maybe I do need more naps and more, you know, meditation and more breathing. And they're all things that I know about as I teach them.
But as we know,
we
don't
and
give
I
it to
was,
ourselves.
like you said just there, I'm so good at telling everybody else. Okay, perhaps I need to tell me. So it's really resonated with me. And yes, I'll be thinking about what my mother did.
It's always about the parents.
Always. Not our fault. Oh, good. So is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, actually, some of the questions you posed in advance, they made me laugh, because I think one of them was like, tell me about your menopause journey. But the first thing I remember was I asked my mum and I said, what was your experience of menopause, Mum? And she said, well, I went to the doctor and I said, if you don't give me HRT, I'm probably going to kill myself.
Wow.
And that was what my mum said. So I think...
Is your mum a dramatic person? Or do you think that was...
No, I think that was resonant of the fact that
she really was in a bad place.
She really struggled. It wasn't being talked about. She couldn't speak to her friends about it. There was one answer, which was HRT, and that's probably going to be part of a solution, but it's not going to be everything, is it?
No.
I think it's changed a lot, and I feel like I'm kind of riding on the Davina McCoy wave. Like, people are talking about it a bit more, and it's a bit more open. But I think that for me, that mental health side of it is, you know, it's still in our society something that is people can talk about when it's past. Oh, I did have a problem when, but when it's here and it's really happening and I'm really struggling, that's hard. So I guess that was my first indication for what it might be like for me. But I hope it's going to be different because of, you know, information being shared and support.
Support, I think, is
and
the main thing.
openness.
Support from peers, support from people that you work with, and just general support and information that's out there. And I think it is very slowly getting better. Yes, Davina McCoy, we are the trailblazers. We are trying to open up the conversations. but we have got a way to go.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's almost like menopause is still a bit of a dirty word.
I think so. And so I'm just really appreciative of, you know, being able to come and talk and also to be able to hear from you guys and to listen to anything else that you put out for your podcast.
Because I mean, we had quite a lot of conversations before we even decided to do this, but you know, we spoke to so many women that in the sauna, around the fire pit after it, you know, and everybody is different, everybody's got different symptoms, and actually we don't even know if those symptoms are menopause or not, because nobody talks about all of them.
There's like, you know, 32 different symptoms of
And
menopause.
I know, I've seen that.
And most people talk about hot flushes and night sweats, you know, the insomnia and that. But there is so much more to it, and not everybody gets those symptoms. So if they don't get that, they kind of think, oh, well, am I not in perimenopause?
And then you're doubting yourself.
Well, that's where I came from, because my initial symptoms were very cognitive symptoms, the anxiety and things like that, and which is why when I first went to the doctor and went, I think I'm basically cracking up.
I'm going mad.
Perimenopause, not be sideways. I didn't even think that was anything to do with it. So,
and I think it's a time of life, isn't it, where there are so many things happening that it's almost impossible to at any one point to say, oh, I definitely think it's that. And so that was, to be honest, that was my experience of beginning to feel I was entering perimenopause. Was it was very hard for me to unpick, given everything else that was going on that year. What of what I was feeling was to do with hormones, or what was to do with, you know, things being really stressful with my children, and there was a big thing happening in my life at that time, which was really, really upsetting, which was that my friend was really unwell, and because of the stress around that and the anxiety around that, I thought it was all to do with that process, and it was. And it was perimenopause, and there were all of these overlapping life experiences, and I just needed time to figure out that they were all there, but perimenopause was part of it, and I didn't see it. But looking back now, with the way that I was sleeping and my anxiety, and I had a few panic attacks, which were really, really unpleasant and quite frightening. But I think that's midlife, isn't it? That's midlife. It's not just one thing that we're unpacking and we're holding. It's lots of things.
Good. Shall we go and have a sauna?
Oh, I would love to.
Yes. Okay. Well, we will be back with you after with a sauna. Hello. So here we are, post sauna, still with the lovely Emily. She's still with us. It's a little bit windy here today, so hopefully you'll hear us over the odd gust. But we have got some roundup questions ready for you.
I'm ready.
So, go Sarah.
So, when you go in the sauna, did you start with a hot or a cold?
I can't remember. What did we do?
We started with hot.
We started with hot. I think today that was needed because the wind was freezing. I think I needed that blast before we went in.
Yeah.
I
was with you on that.
First.
Always like the hot
definitely,
first.
Yeah, I think we were quite chilly, weren't we? Before
Yeah.
And what about when you finished? Did you have a cold finish or a warm?
I had a
finish?
warm finish, and I feel like I was bucking the trend, and the experts went in for one more dip, but I was like, I know that I lose circulation in every digit and every toe, so
no, you did the right thing for your body.
This is the thing that we say, it's a very personal thing. Everybody sauna and dips differently, and you've got to go with what your body is telling you.
Good rules for life as well.
Definitely.
So how did you overall find your sauna experience?
I thought it was lovely. It was a bit of a shock the first time I got in the water, I must say, but the second and third times were easier. And it's just lovely chatting with you guys. It's such a nice community here.
There is a really good community.
It's just a really good vibe, and really nice to be able to chat and do something that's good for your bodies and good for your social battery in your heart. So all round tick for me.
Fabulous, fabulous.
That's brilliant. So, is there one health habit that you do but you don't actually enjoy?
I don't actually enjoy. I'm probably going to say I don't run distances anymore. I used to train and try to run, like a half marathon or something. I don't do that. Now I do a little bit of interval training, and that works better for me. Running a distance doesn't suit my body anymore, and it always makes me feel just a bit crap about myself, and I just don't need that in my life. I think the thing that I do that probably does me the best good, and that is not glamorous at all, is I just have a big old cry quite often.
No, nice, a release.
I feel like, I'm a sensitive soul. The world is can be a difficult place. You know, I'm in a healing profession.
Yeah.
I've just accepted that it's energy in, energy out, and
Energy in motion,
yeah, I can feel it building up. I can feel I'm getting a bit ratty, or you know, a little bit. I just take myself upstairs and I do a little bit of breath work and have a big old cry, and that's a pretty big part of my daily habits now.
Yeah,
so yeah, I don't see it as a weakness. It's definitely
nor should
it's
it
definitely a release, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, is there one thing that you do now in your midlife that you never thought you would do?
Well, in my midlife, I have started cuddling a teddy bear at night.
Oh,
In 2023 was quite a hard year for me, and my partner bought me a beautiful Stife teddy bear because I'd secretly gone into my son's room and stolen one of his bears off his bed to cuddle because I was feeling a bit sad.
Yeah.
So he bought me a bear, and it comes to bed with me, and I absolutely love cuddling him. So yeah, Bramble Bear, I salute you.
Bramble Bear.
I love it.
Oh, it's lovely. So Emily, what's your one simple pleasure at the end of the day?
I think simple pleasure. I think the word simple definitely is the right thing, because in the evenings, like I think since going into perimenopause, I feel much more sensitive to a whole load of things. And one of the things is like TV.
Yeah.
I have to be really careful about what I watch on TV, so it's
sure.
not really like stimulating. And even something that's just really good, if it's quite exciting, even that probably messes with my sleep. So we've got like a bit of a joke between me and my partner where he's like, "You can't watch that now. Let's put David Attenborough back on." And so yeah, my simple pleasure is like keeping my nervous system like on the down before
Nice.
bed. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Goes under the whole, you know, come off your devices, come off your screens, you know, start the bedtime wind down.
We'll be watching something and it'll be really good, but I'm like, just notice, and my body's like, clenched.
So,
no,
I don't watch anything like that.
I've got to keep it simple. Yeah.
Good for you. So, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
Oh, I just, not really. It's just been so good to talk about it. I think it's just a really important thing, and I just know that there'll be so many women who will be resonating with all the things that you talk about on this podcast and feeling better for it being discussed. And yeah, I just feel like if anything's landed with anyone today, I would love them to get in touch with me.
We'll share all your details at the end of the podcast, put it all in the
I think it's good to make connections, isn't it, and to be a kind of active participant in your well-being and to think about what you do around that. So I'm well up for hearing from people.
Like I said, I think the cognitive effects that and the mental pressures that it puts on people is definitely not spoken about enough. So I think what you've said today will really resonate with some people.
There's
so
a huge load on women at this age, isn't there? I think it's really important to acknowledge that it's not failing. It's literally what would happen to anyone in this time of life, and it's okay.
Not failing. That's your takeaway from today. Well, thank you so much for being part of the conversation.
So much for bringing me here. I appreciate it so much.
No, absolutely.
So thank you for joining us for another episode of the Sauna Sisters with the lovely Emily here. And if anything has resonated with you, I hope you can take it forward into your life in the next week or so. And all that's left to say is that see you in the sauna.
See you in the sauna.
You have been listening to Jen Hansford at Balance and Breathe and Sarah Shropsaw of Sarah Shropsaw Nutrition. We would like to thank our hosts, Key Sauna. We would like to thank our guest, Emily McCoy at Emily McCoy Shares. And we would like to thank our content creators, Cole Jackson at CS Jacko and Alfie at ATL Studios. Thank you for listening.